Well, to be able to say to ourselves, what a wonderful world, is a great gift. And you know what? This talk, The Benevolent Universe, is the perfect talk to remind us of the basic principles that we teach here from this platform in one form or another every single Sunday. There are only a few things that we really talk about here besides love. Which we talk, that's right. But I want to remind you that when we're talking about a benevolent universe, we're talking about an acknowledgement that there's this one power and one presence in the universe that is everywhere, that is in us, around us, through us, as us, and that we understand that that is the truth for us. Hopefully, it's the truth for me. Hopefully, it's the truth for you. We talk about the idea that each and every one of us is a spark of that energy, whatever that energy is. You know, even those wonderful creatures, that soul of the world, that energy, that God spark, we're all that. And this is really an example of what Satish Kumar said. It's an example of what Glenda talked about. This idea that the world is how we see it. We teach this. Our thoughts determine how our life experience outpictures. If we're not thinking that it's a benevolent universe, guess what? It's not. So our thoughts are going to determine how we see the world. And we've got to get quiet enough, present enough, meditative enough, prayerful enough to remember that truth. That's one of our basic principles. Be present now and open to those truths that we're trying to remember. And then we got to walk it in the world. We have to actually demonstrate that we get it. That we get it that the universe is benevolent. That we get it that our thoughts make a difference. That we get it that we got to be quiet. That we get it that we are each this spark of the divine, you see. And so this idea of the prosperous heart is a reflection of the core beliefs and principles that we stand for. It's this idea that, guess what? The universe is a friendly place. The universe is a friendly place. Does it always feel like it? Probably not. Probably not. But when we're talking about this benevolent universe and a prosperous heart and having a perception of that and thinking in those terms, we get it that there's this benevolent something. Who knows what that is? But this benevolent something that's moving in and through it all. And the signs are an indication of that, you see. The signs that Glenda talked about. And when we get that, we have basic trust that no matter how it's showing up, that the universe is going to accommodate us and our soul's journey. Those of you from a Christian tradition, the idea in the Bible that says, all things work together for good when you're aligned and know God, they say, when you know God, for those who know and love God. But I'm saying for those of us who understand that it's all this benevolent universe and this, we can see beyond the appearance. Because guess what? In my life, it doesn't always look pretty. How about yours? Sometimes it looks scary. Sometimes it looks kind of icky. But when we take a breath, we get very present with it, and we can redirect our thinking and go, okay, I'm willing to be with this in a way that lets me see beyond whatever this kind of scary thing is. And this helps us get confidence in life on life's terms. Get confidence that no matter how it's showing up, that there is some process in place. Do you realize that I'll bet you it looked pretty scary when the Big Bang happened, if you subscribe to the Big Bang Theory, yes? But there was a process in place at that moment in time, and guess what? Voila, here we are. Here we are. So sometimes things look pretty chaotic, they look a little confusing. I know I've got stuff in my own life that looks that way. I know some of you have things in your life that look that way right now, today, in this moment. But when we get this bigger perspective, we get real quiet, and we can remember the truth, and we can trust the process of life on life's terms. Hardly anything happens on my terms. But life on life's terms, you see. Then I get it that the universe is on my side. When that Big Bang Theory happened, that Big Bang thing, it was on our side, because here we are. Here we are. It's on everybody's side, even though it doesn't sometimes look like it, you see. Because there is this limitless, infinite potential within all of it, no matter how it's showing up. The universe handles the details. You know, I love Daniel's song, I don't need to know, God knows. I don't need to know the details. God knows the details. I just got to trust, be present, stay open, and remember the truth of who I am, and remember the truth of this, what we're calling this benevolent universe today. And this is it. I got to remember that I am simply blessed. I'm just simply blessed. Does it always feel like it? Maybe not. Do we always see it this way? Probably not. You know why? Because we are not really tutored in optimism. Have you ever noticed that? We're not really tutored in optimism. I love what Eric Butterworth says, my hero, my great metaphysical teacher. I just love his work. His language is old school, but I love it. He says, how many people go through life holding a tin cup under the Niagara Falls of a benevolent universe? It's a small fry expectancy that usually manifests as a string-saving, make-do, can't afford it level of consciousness. It's marginal living at best, and some people even prepare for the worst so they won't be disappointed. See, this is kind of what happens to us sometimes. We you know what? I see some acknowledgement out there. Don't we do that? We bring a tin cup to life, little tiny cup, when there's this tremendous abundance and infinite possibility, infinite potential in life. And guess what? If we bring a tin cup and it's only this big, guess what we're going to experience? Guess how we see it? We see it that small, very limited. We're tutored in dread. How many of us have been told from a very early age, better wear clean underwear just in case? Yeah? We prepare for a rainy day, don't we? Yeah? Don't we brace ourselves? Don't we, sometimes our country's on high alert. We're always on high alert, waiting for something, waiting for the next shoe to fall. It's been my experience. You know, those of you who maybe have come up through some sort of a very fundamental religion or something, or know people who are in those systems, there's a high degree of interest in Armageddon and in end times. Got to prepare. Get ready. Make sure you're on the list. Yeah? Sort of go through life preparing bomb shelters, prepare for the bomb shelters of life. Remember the 50s? I'm a child of the 50s. We were having dinner with family the other day, and my granddaughter's new fiance was talking about his bedroom when he was a young kid in the 80s, and he said his bedroom was the bomb shelter that his family or somebody built in the 50s, right? But the thing is, it had windows. I'm going, wow, what did they know about bombs in the 50s? It had windows, it had a door, But don't we do this? We prepare for the worst. We're always sort of worrying, and we've got some sort of apprehension about something, and we're forgetting it's all up here. It's all our thoughts. It's all our stress stuff getting going. Yeah, now this is the deal. Are there hard times? You bet. Are there difficult world circumstances? You bet. Sometimes is the stock market unstable? Absolutely. Is there unemployment? There may be unemployment in this room. Is there bad news? Have you gotten bad news in your family, or is there bad news in your community? Maybe. There are epidemics. We're certainly seeing one right now over in Africa, aren't we? There's political unrest practically everywhere on the planet, and this is the invitation. There's always going to be chaos. There's always going to be something happening. It's the way of a dynamic universe. It's the way change occurs. It's the reason we're here. When that Big Bang happened, it was necessary for us today to be here. All of these shakeups and this stuff that's happening in the world, guess what? It's all somehow, and Trust me, I don't know how. It's all working together for good somehow. The light is being shown on so many difficult areas of our planet right now at the same time that if we choose to see it in a malevolent way, we sure can do that. If we choose to see it in a different way, that's what we can see. Wow. Wow. So our invitation and our challenge is to cultivate this benevolent way of being present in our life experience, this sense of life. Trust the process, be confident, experience the world as wonderful within whatever's going on. Even through the most difficult circumstances, we see that there is beauty, there is some richness in life. How many of us have seen images of a hot, scorched asphalt pavement in a desolate, abandoned area, and within that, there's this one little seed popping up through a crack where it's going to grow, where there's this infinite possibility, this potential. That's what we're talking about. And so as I was working with this talk, I thought, you know what? Oh, and I picked this picture behind me, this rainbow. The metaphor that we're talking about is to be able to see the rainbow through whatever's going on, to see the rainbow through the storm, to see the rainbow within the difficulties of life, you see. To sense that the world is open and beautiful and rich and possible in whatever direction you're looking. Then I was thinking, I feel kind of like hypocritical talking about all of this abundance, because here we are in Orange County, right? And I'm very acutely aware of what's going on in the world. I'm acutely aware of what's going on in certain people's lives. I'm acutely aware that it doesn't always look pretty. It doesn't always look pretty. And so I started thinking, how do we do a talk for this on this topic and still recognize all of the darkness in the world? Recognize all of the shadow stuff. There's always a catastrophe. And to tell you the truth, I drew a blank. I thought, this is a hypocritical talk. How can I talk about this knowing there's so much suffering in the world? How can I do this? And then I thought, where am I going to go for sort of a balance point to this? And of course, I thought of a prime example that we're all familiar with, Viktor Frankl. Do you think Viktor Frankl was living in one of those horrible, catastrophic, dark places? He is a Holocaust survivor. This is what he said. Everything can be taken from a man, except for one thing. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. To choose one's own way of being with the experience. This, folks, is the highest spiritual practice. This calls upon us to live those 5 principles that I just demonstrated to you. Knowing that there's this benevolence. Knowing that if we can change our attitude, change our thoughts about whatever that thing is, that this is where our freedom comes from. Knowing that we can be present with these difficult things, and knowing that we can find beauty within that. Find some sort of hope within that. Find some sort of potential within that. None of us in this room will ever have to live that story. But I got news for you. There are people in the world around us that are living in very difficult circumstances. And how they see the world is going to determine how they come through those things. How we see the world is going to determine how we come through these things and how we perceive the world in general. And when we know this about ourselves, when we know this about the universe, it gives us courage to be present with life. Not paralyzed by it, not overcome by it. It makes it easier to be present with whatever life serves up. For us, for the world, sometimes we want to collapse. when in our own life and as a global community, we just want to collapse into despair over some of these things. But when we know the truth, that the universe really is a friendly place, that there is a plan, there is a process, that it's all working together for good, it makes it easier for us to rebound when we hit a setback or when we hit a difficult spot. It makes it easier for us to see through the darkness, the shadow. So, like Satish Kumar says, we can bring a dark attitude to whatever we see. We can do that. Or we can choose to bring a benevolent attitude, the light to whatever that thing is. And you know what? The minute light hits something, what happens? It starts to heal. It starts to heal. And when we do that, then we release that energy and that passion into our life experience. Makes it easier to be present with whatever's going on in our life experience and actually find a sense of enjoyment within that, to love the life we're living. So here's your invitation. See yourself as simply blessed, whatever that means to you. Remember that the world is, all of the world, your personal world and the big world, the world is as you see it. And then I invite you to remember this video, remember this song. The world really is a wonderful world. Thank you for listening.